Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven development video. Picking up where I left off on February 23rd, we just finished getting the valid dollars to render to a label. Again, if you don't like that, the place to comment on it would be episode 89, I believe. Or no, episode 90. I talk about my reasons for doing that at the end of the episode, and I'd like to collect all the comments about whether or not it's a good idea in that episode, so they're all in one spot. So, and I may still yet be proven wrong on that. I do definitely see that it's making the test harder to read because we've got this rendering chunk of tests in the middle of what's otherwise a very nice, clean bit of code. But the actual production code is fairly simple. I think if we were seeing a lot of code around the rendering that was making it hard to understand what's going on in the rest of the class, then it would obviously need to come out to a separate class. And that's honestly where I make a lot of the decisions I do about when it's time to separate classes. There's responsibility-driven design, right? You want every class to have a single responsibility and to be very clearly focused on that responsibility. But the nature of responsibilities and the nature of English and the human brain is that you could say that you could have a program with one class with 10,000 lines of code and say this class's responsibility is to represent the application. So you can always come up with an excuse to have lots of different things in one class. Or you could over-subdivide. You could say that this class's responsibility is to understand dollar percentages, and this one's responsibility is to understand subtraction in dollars. So the single responsibility principle doesn't really help you in your design deciding when to subdivide. At least not in my opinion. It's a guide, but it doesn't give you clear, unquestionable guidance. So what I use is just how big is the class? How much trouble do I have understanding it? And right now, render doesn't really match the rest of this, but you know, neither does this stuff. So it's close enough, and the class is still small enough for me to understand. So there I go, breaking my own rules. I said to talk about it in episode 90, and here we are in episode 92, and I'm still talking about it. So I'm going to let it go. When we left off, I was thinking about doing a little spike to see if I was on the right track. I couldn't figure that out. Right at the end of the video, I tried to do a very ugly spike, and it didn't really work out. And doing this code was so easy, I think I'm just going to jump right in to doing invalid dollars. So, and then we can implement the actual, hook this up with real code that's tested. So I'm going to borrow this. It's not going to be the same at all, but this will just help. Okay. So we want to render to a swing label. Yeah, we don't care about this. We don't care about this. And we do care about this. We'll come back to this. Okay. So got our label. We want to render it. And then when we're done, what we should have is we should have an icon. Really, I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that yet, but okay, that should work just fine. Haven't implemented any real code yet. Okay, so now when this renders, what I want it to do is render with a little exclamation mark. The problem is that the reason I'm pausing is because I don't want the test to have to go out and load a file. that's generally a no-no. That said, I'm not sure if I see a better way of doing it. And I mean, I could inject the proper icon into the InvalidDollars class, but that seems like overkill. By inject, I mean I could tell it which icon to use. Well, let's try that. Let's try that and see what happens. Like I said, it feels like overkill, but yeah. Yeah. Um, what would that look like if we did that? You know what? Let's start out doing it the simple way, and then we can look and see if we want to do the fancy injection. So, okay. So what we can do is we just want to say that we expect to be an expected icon which is going to be generated in the same way it is over here. And then we're going to expect that this will have yeah. Okay. No pointer exception, I assume, is because we don't have an InvalidDollars.gif. So let's go ahead and grab this star that we used in the spike and move it over to here. And we will call that InvalidDollars. We need to draw ourselves a proper there's probably I'm probably not doing resource management properly for this. And if one of you listening to this has a better idea, please let me know in the comments. Okay. So that should not fail with an... Oh, it's failing with a null pointer exception. Where is that happening? Still happening there. Maybe because Eclipse doesn't know about it yet. Yeah, render try icon expected that file, but was null. Perfect. So now, do the same code again. Only now we're going to say label.setIcon. This needs refactoring. Okay, that didn't work. Interesting. They are not the same icons. They are, of course, using the same underlying URL, but they're not actually referring to the same icon. They're, two image icons that are referring to the same URL are not equal according to Java because the references are not equal. So that messes this up. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and think about this. I feel like my brain's not functioning very well today, so I'm going to take a break and I'll come back to this in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. So the issue here is that the icon that we've loaded and the icon that the production class has loaded are the same file, but they're not actually the same object, and they're not comparing as equals. And so what I'm going to try to do, while I was taking my break, I took a glance at what sort of methods image icon has, and there's this get image thing, and I'm going to see if I can compare the underlying image instead. And that works. Okay, that's good. Also, so this is ugly. It's not that ugly. I think I'm going to let it fly. Let's see how fast it is. That's a big question. Our tests are still running in 1.5 seconds. And where are we? We are in InvalidDollars test. Where is that? There we are. Which are still running in 3/100ths of a second. This one, I mean, it's a little bit slow. I mean, 33/100ths is awfully slow for a test, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad, and I'm not going to be doing it that often. I think if I start doing this a lot, though, I'm going to have to come up with some sort of abstraction. This did remind me, though, that we needed to, we've got the image, we've got the icon image, but we also need to have an icon description. This is for accessibility reasons. And I don't have to do this, but I might as well. So we expect the icon, let's see, the description to be something along the lines of, well, invalid dollar amount, let's say. And the actual value will be the actual icon dot something. Let's go ahead and pull this out. Get description. Here we go. Expected invalid dollar amount, but was, yeah, well, I'm glad we're changing that. Yeah, description. So, $7 dollar amount. I think it would be really interesting to actually have that description reflect the problem, the underlying problem, but we don't have that yet. But let's see. Oh, actually, it was going to be the tooltip that did that. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Okay, so that is working. Okay, so what's next? We might be able to finish this off in our 15 minutes. So that's the icon. We need to make sure that there's no text. Let's see. That should be null. And we don't care about the foreground color because there's no text. Oh, interesting. There we go. So this piece, I'm not going to do it all because, oh, but I do care about the tooltip. I'm going to save the tooltip for later. So let's just assert that the tooltip should be null. Yeah. So that's something that we're going to want to just double check. We're going to set the text to Foodle. Set that. Yep, that's good. Oh, I'm out of time. Let me just get this in real quick because there we go. And then this, I think I will put it down here. There we go. That should fail. That should fail. There we go. And then there. All right. I think that's it. Next time, now that InvalidDollars and InvalidDollars are done, next time we'll work on getting these hooked up. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I'll catch you next time.